When you talk about a lot of the teams that have maybe been underperforming in the Premier League this year, especially United and Chelsea, one of the main concerns is, and one of the main things that's brought up is the amount of injuries in those squads, which is true. There's massive injuries. When you see United starting with Maguire at centre-back, and to be honest, the whole back line is pretty poor at the minute. Chelsea are missing
Evans,
loads of players. Yeah, Johnny Evans. What do we think on... First off, let's go into the first point. Why do we think so many players are getting injured? Because there's something like 40 players that are out through injury at the minute.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard. You could say, there's too many games, and there probably is too many games. But then you look at the life of a footballer. He's wrapped up in cotton wool, isn't he, with regards to travel and treatment and all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of counter that. But I don't know. It's just like when we had our injury crisis, last year. That's because we had all our doctors or the main medical team left or something like that. So maybe it could be something like that going on behind the scenes at the clubs. I don't know. I don't know if it's like that at Man United or Chelsea. Just little things. If there's one person that leaves and you don't replace, or it's a new person, it can have an effect on the treatment and things like that. So maybe that has an effect. I don't know.
I heard recently United have only just hired a head of sports medicine.
Yeah. Well, that's what
they
I mean.
didn't have one at all?
Didn't have one. They've only just hired one because of... I mean, I think this season...
Arsenal with the ball in the box.
I think this season and last season, I think it'll be a lot higher because of the World Cup. So, they obviously were going to play football in that period anyway. But by playing international football, it then pushed the league later, which when they had shorter summers. And then I think the other issue at United is, why the fuck did we have so many pre-season games? We had a ridiculous amount of pre-season games. Well, I know why. It's because the Glazers wanted to make a shitload of money.
And get that international marketing and fan base in there.
And then that's why...
Arsenal in the box with Martinelli. Takes a shot straight at the keeper.
Very brightly.
Arsenal have had a fantastic start to this second half. But yeah, the amount of games is definitely true. And as you said, I think pre-season is more for the marketing side of things, isn't it? So you can try capture it.
It's getting that way. Pre-season's a great idea. It gets people fit and stuff like that. But it's like, for example, Kobe Mainoo at United. He looked really bright in pre-season, academy player, was really excited to see him this season kind of come in. And he was kind of going to play that Scott McTominay role where he was going to be on the bench, but he was going to get some minutes every now and again just to give Casemiro a bit of a rest, because he had that versatility where he could play 6, but he could also play 8. But then he gets injured in pre-season against Real Madrid really early doors, and I think he's only just got back into training. Like, he's still not fit for the league or anything like that, so it's kind of like really disappointing. But it's because we're playing... when we played pre-season, I think we played a game every 3 days. It's just nuts.
It's completely uncalled for.
Don't get much of a break.
Well, I know Klopp's talked a lot about the amount of games, and obviously you said there that maybe you don't think it's as big of an issue.
I don't know. I just think because the way football is with all the money behind it and how they protect players, I think
they should be able to.
I'm not saying they should be able to cope with it, because they are human after all, and the pressures and stuff. But I think the 5 substitution rule has helped a lot. I think that's helped.
Yeah, I disagreed with that at first, but actually no.
No, I think it was Klopp who was pushing for it, and he got absolute pelters for it. But
I think it does
work.
I think the only pushback on that is obviously it does benefit the top 6 sides.
It does.
Bigger squads and more money to spend.
Bigger squads, and you're playing more games. So like Liverpool, City, you'd expect them to play 50+ games in the season. So it's going to benefit them, whereas,
it removes the benefit for a team that's lower down the league.
Like Luton, for example, they're not going to really feel the benefits of it, because they're only playing, 38 league games and maybe 5 cup games if they get a win or 2 to get through a few rounds. And
for them, they would have probably normally been looking at a fixture against United or something, hoping that they had a Champions League game midweek, and then they went to play them. Might be a little bit more tired, but as you said, that definitely changes things. But on that point then, Josh... do you think that the injuries at Manchester United are a good excuse for the start to the season so far?
I think it's an excuse. I don't know if I'd say it's a good excuse. I think it's a valuable excuse. I mean, like we just said, you look at that back 4 for United last night. Yesterday we had Victor Lindelof playing left back. Your starting centre back partnership was Maguire and Johnny Evans.
That was mental. Like 2023.
And then you had Diogo Dalot playing right back, who, to be honest with you, I think is suspect anyway. And you kind of go, well, fucking hell. I mean, we had 2 left-backs injured at the start of the season in Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia. So then we bring in Sergio Reguilon to cover for that injury, and then he gets injured. So you kind of go, well, do you know what? That's a bit of a fair enough excuse. Victor Lindelof hasn't played left back, I don't think, for United ever. And then, you know, he's going.
What are the injuries? Is it like muscle strains or what is it?
I think it is muscle.
So that's like training stuff, isn't it? And
yeah. So I think it is an excuse, but at the same time, it's not a good enough excuse. Like,
you're a big enough team
we've
that you
still
should be able to
got
cope
enough
with
quality.
like
We've still got enough quality on the pitch where we at home against Brentford, we shouldn't need two very late goals from a substitute, Scott McTominay, to win the game. We should have had the game put to bed and finished by then. So I don't know. Like I said, it's an excuse. Wouldn't say it's a good one.
Right.
It's definitely a factor.
Yeah,
definitely a factor.
It does come into it. You know, you kind of go, oh, well, you know, if Shaw was playing, you know, would we have conceded that goal? And you know, if we had everyone, you know, if we had had Højlund at the start of the season, would him and Rashford have meshed by now and be able to play fully together?
He looks a decent player, him, to be fair.
What do you think of the signings at Manchester United so far? Obviously, Højlund's pretty fresh into it. There's been a lot of talk about Onana in the last week. I think he's probably one of the most talked about footballers in the Premier League. What's your thoughts on him so far, Josh?
I mean, he was always going to be, because he was coming into the biggest club in the Premier League and he was taking the place of a club legend who's been there for 12 years. So it was always going to be a very talked about transfer and stuff like that. But fuck me, this guy needs to pull his head out of his arse. I don't know what he's doing. I didn't see him as a unbelievable shot stopper. He was never David De Gea's shot stopping ability. But he came in with you know, decent levels of goalkeeping ability, and it was his ability to play out from the back.
That's why he got signed, didn't it? His passing ability.
His ability to play out from the back.
De Gea didn't have that distribution, did he?
At all. And to be fair, Onana's ability to kind of come out and claim crosses is much better than... Oh, he's done well.
Oh, what's he put it back for?
Is much better than De Gea's.
Yeah, I think my thing with Onana is it doesn't even seem like his passing ability's been up to scratch so far. The one thing you signed him for, obviously, you saw that.
When I've seen him, he's looked all right.
He's okay.
With the diagonals,
But then the problem is then he does what he did against...
Yeah, where he just gives the ball away.
Just pass the ball away and you think... But at the same time, you kind of have to look at it and go, well, the fucking back four in front of him is Lindelof, Maguire and Johnny Evans. You kind of got to come a little bit of slack. I mean, he should have saved that goal yesterday, should have. He got a hand to it. It wasn't a powerful shot.
But this is every single game, it seems like there's a howler from him at the minute.
Yeah.
And it didn't... for me, when you look at Manchester United, didn't De Gea have something like 15 clean sheets last season?
He won
the Golden Glove. But then, look at the defence in front of him. He had Wan-Bissaka.
I know, but...
For the majority of the season, he had Wan-Bissaka, he had Varane, Martinez and Luke Shaw in front of him. So that helps. And De Gea is a better shot stopper than...
But this is what I'm saying. So why would you get rid of someone that you know is quite a good quality keeper and sign someone for 55 million, something along those lines?
I think it was
you keep saying, look at the defence in front of him as well, which is fine. We're not talking about the amount of goals that he's conceded. We're talking about the manner in which he's conceded.
I'm not arguing. He has started incredibly poorly, and I think he needs to, like I said, he needs to pull his head out of his ass. And
how old is he? Is he mid-20s? What is he?
I think he's like 28.
He's a bit old. The reason we got rid of him is because it comes down to style. We needed a goalkeeper that allowed us to play out from the back. I mean, like if you watch the FA Cup final last season, for example, United City, fucking De Gea didn't complete a long ball. I watched the whole game. He kicked the ball long. He didn't get it to another United player until about the 60th or 70th minute.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Where you go, fuck me, what are you playing at?
It's a lot of wasted possession.
But then the question is, what do you want from your keeper? Admittedly, that's wasted possession, but that's also probably partially due to players up the pitch not winning the ball, not really challenging for it.
The thing is, with Onana, we have seen he is a good keeper. He's going through a little something at the moment, but he is a good keeper and he has been over the past couple of seasons.
He was in the Champions League final last year.
He'll click at some point. He'll settle in.
Was he from Inter Milan?
Inter Milan, yeah.
Keepers that come from Italy to the Premier League don't generally do very well because there's not enough pressure on them there. You know, it's more physical, the Premier League, so I don't think they're used to that. So I think that plays on their mind as well.
But I think you look at City, for example, Edison's distribution is unbelievable. He's probably the best keeper in the world for distribution. But actually, as a shot stopper, he's not amazing.
That's why Alisson's Brazil's number one.
Saying that Alisson made the mistake today for the...
So I think
it's going to happen at some point.
I mean, all keepers make howlers, whether it's, you know, anybody. But I think, you know, that is the way that goalkeepers go in, that they're not all the very best shot stoppers. It's more about that ability to play out from the back and that ability to be able to ping a pass. I mean, what Edison gets 1 or 2 assists every season because of his ability to play that long ball. And so, but like I said, his shot stopping isn't incredible. It isn't good enough to he does get the occasional best in the world shout, or he did for a little bit.
No, not so much. No.
Everyone's kind of come to the agreement, yeah, it is Alisson. He is the best in the league and probably the best in the world.